Hi, I'm Bob Dempsey, Congleum's Installation Manager. I've been installing floors for a long time, and I'm here to tell you that Congleum Connections might just be one of the easiest products you'll ever install. Whether you're a professional flooring installer or a do-it-yourself weekend warrior, you'll find that Connections installation doesn't have messy adhesive, requires only a few simple tools, and the 6 by 48 inch plank size all add up to a simple, quick, and easy installation.
We'll look at the steps to a professional, trouble-free installation, but first there are a few important things that must be done. Be careful when handling and storing the cartons. While the product is packed well, make sure you support the carton when carrying and storing it so the planks don't become distorted. Store the cartons on a flat surface and don't stack more than 10 cartons high. Never lean the cartons on end or on their sides. Condition the room and the product at a constant temperature between 65 degrees and 85 degrees Fahrenheit for 48 hours prior to, during, and 48 hours after installation. Connections can be installed over subfloors like plywood, particle board, OSB, lightweight concrete, and existing resilient floors. Check that the surface is clean, dry, and smooth, and pound down any protruding nail heads. Use a sander to level any high spots. Fill depressions and cracks greater than 1/8 inch wide with a good quality cement-based patching compound. Be sure to remove all moldings. Undercut door casings. And finally, sweep the floor thoroughly. You're now ready to start the installation. The first step is to choose the direction of the planks. In most cases, the plank should run parallel to the longest wall. Next, you'll want to assure that the plank widths are balanced along the walls in the room so that you don't end up with a narrow row of planks against your finishing wall. Follow these simple steps. Measure the width of the room between the longest walls and find the distance to the center. Divide that distance by the plank width of 6 inches. If the remainder is more than 3 inches, start your first row with the plank widths trimmed to that dimension. If the remainder turns out to be less than 3 inches, half a plank width, simply add 3 inches to the remainder, and that will give you the width of the starting row. By following this procedure, your last row of planks will have widths equal to those in the first row and never less than 3 inches. You are now ready to install the first row of planks. Always start in the left corner facing the starting wall, and make sure that the adhesive film faces out away from the wall. Pull the long strip of release paper back and remove the small end strip. You can place the end of the second plank against the end of the one on the floor and press it into the adhesive. Continue until you reach the last plank of the row, where you must make a cut. Measure the distance from the plank to the end wall and subtract 1/8 inch. Mark the plank and place it over a cutting board. With a sharp utility knife against a straight edge or carpenter square, score the surface of the plank, the release paper, and the adhesive strip. Break the plank at the score mark. Then cut the adhesive strip on the back of the plank. If you prefer, you can also easily cut connections with a tile cutter. Always be sure to measure and place the cut end of the plank against the wall. Avoid using cut pieces less than 6 inches at the ends of the rows. With the first row complete, position the row about 1/8 inch away from the wall. Inserting spacers makes this adjustment easy. Start the second row now by cutting a plank about 32 inches long. Remove the tape from the plank in the first row and carefully lay in this cut piece with the cut end against the wall. Always leave the release paper attached until you are ready to install the next plank. This will protect the adhesive strip from gathering dust and dirt. If you need to reposition a plank because it did not go together well, simply peel back the plank, reposition it, and lay it back down against the adjoining plank. It's that easy. Hand roll the area over the adhesive strip to embed the plank into the adhesive. Continue this process to complete the second row. Cut the starting plank for the third row about 16 inches long and continue installing the planks. And once you remove the release paper, be sure to collect and dispose of it, as it can become a slippery hazard. After the third row, keep a random plank layout, making sure to stagger the end joints by at least 8 inches. And after you have finished 3 to 4 rows, it is easier to turn yourself around and work on top of the installed planks. There may be times when you must reverse the direction in which you are installing the planks. For this installation, we are installing into an adjoining room. And as you can see, when you extend the plank through the doorway, you have to be able also to install the planks back toward the wall. To do this, you must have an adhesive strip along both sides of a plank. There are 2 easy ways to do this. Use a heat gun to warm the adhesive strip area on the back of one plank. Flip it over and place it against a second. Then carefully pull up the first plank, leaving the second with adhesive strips on both sides. With this plank, you can install out in both directions. The other way to change direction is to use Congleum's CF910 Connections adhesive film. Packed in a 9-foot roll, the tape can be cut to size and centered along both the plank edge and end. Either method works well. Once you have made a row of planks with tape on both sides, you can continue to install the planks in both directions. It's important to make sure that the planks are well seated in the adhesive strips. So, besides rolling all joints with a hand seam roller to make sure the edges are even, you also need to roll the finish job in both directions with a 100-pound roller. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, you may find a 100-pound roller available from your flooring retailer or your local rental center. Otherwise, you may use a rolling pin, bearing down on it with body weight as you roll over the flooring. That's all there is to a connections installation. When finishing the job, keep in mind that this is a floating floor. Do not pin the floor when installing the molding pieces, and don't anchor the floor with the transition moldings. Finally, if you ever need to replace a damaged plank in a connections floor, the steps are very easy. Cut through the corner of the damaged plank. Warming the area with a heat gun makes the plank release more easily. Using a putty knife, start lifting the plank. Work your way along the plank, carefully lifting it off the adhesive. Use one hand to pull up the plank, the other hand to hold down the adjacent flooring. Once the damaged plank is removed, take the adhesive strip off from the replacement piece and carefully install it. Roll the new plank with a hand roller. That's all there is to making a simple repair in a connections job. Now that you've seen the installation steps, we're sure that you'll agree with our opening comment that Congleum Connections may be the easiest flooring product you will ever install.